right. Getting all mic'd up. Trying something just a little bit different here. And so excited to be here with you today. This is Paul C. Torina, nutritional therapist and life coach here in Las Vegas. And very excited to bring you some more information today. We're trying to figure out this Facebook Live thing. Let me make sure. All right, cool. We can hear me. We got audio. So if I look down, I'm communicating with Nicole because she's watching this and she's going to feed me questions and stuff. But anyway, we're trying to figure out this Facebook Live thing. Last time we did the gut health talk and we used some presentations. And so, hey, y'all, what's going on? I'm going to try not to look down here too much because I'll get distracted. Oh, so good to see all y'all. What's up, Rita? What's up, Steph? What's up, Jen, Kathleen, Nancy? All right, I got all my homegirls here. Anyway, last time we did this, you can only share a screen or you can share a video. And I felt like it's really boring looking at the screen, although the presentation information is great. So what we got today is we got nifty little slides. All right, so we're going to try a little bit of something like this. But anyway, this information is from the heart. You know, we just want to help people, and I love getting up here and giving information like this. And so if you have any questions, as always, comment, and we'll have some bonus material that we're going to hand out at the end. So today we're going to cover information about the immune system, colds and flus, what to do for prevention, and what to do once you get sick. And these are solid recommendations. Some of it you may have heard before. Just stick with me through the entire program. It's not going to be more than an hour because I have to coach a class here in a little bit. All right? So this is brought to you by Paul C. Torina and the Superhuman Transformation and Nicole. So today we're talking about colds, flus, and the immune system. So first, let's talk about immune system basics. We have basically 3 lines of defense. All right. Now, these 3 lines of defense are running all the time, so it's a constant battle. We have what we call non-specific barriers. And so this would be things like our skin. Non-specific means it's just there to keep stuff out and to filter out pathogens and things. And by the way, I think this is really interesting information to understand how all this stuff works in the background, because we don't realize that we think about our immune system when we get sick, but it's going on all the time, right? So we have our skin, we have things like sweat and mucus and tears and what is known as cilia, little hairs that are inside our ear canals and our lungs that kind of filter out, you know, big particles and big pathogens. And then within some of our fluids, like our saliva and our tears, we have things that neutralize pathogens. So enzymes and protein digesting enzymes and all kinds of different cool stuff. All right. So, and then also another part of our non-specific barriers is going to be our digestive system. So it's really important that you have a strong digestive system because you want to digest pathogens before they start to digest you. And then we have things, I think this is just fascinating stuff. So then we have things like coughing and sneezing. Like, do we know why we cough and sneeze? To expulse these invaders, right? So, and then when we use the bathroom, we're expulsing invaders. The body's always filtering this stuff out. And then vomiting is a reaction to some kind of a pathogen or something that's off and not right, and it's our ability to kind of get that stuff out of our system. It's the only sphincter in the digestive system that can actually, that goes both ways, is our cardiac sphincter, and that's because we need to regurgitate stuff sometimes. And then even when we have tears and saliva, we're pushing things out of our system. And so those barriers are very important, those non-specific barriers. We also have what we call our innate immune system, and this is non-specific, but it is an innate intelligence. And so you can think of it like patrol cars that are always going through the system looking for bad guys. All right, so we have our natural killer cells, which are known as lymphocytes. We have what we call phagocytes, and those are things that are designed to digest like decaying matter and also digest different pathogens. We already mentioned before, we have these antimicrobial peptides that are located in a lot of our different fluids, and then also our digestive juices. Inflammation, you know, we hear a lot about inflammation nowadays. Inflammation is actually a really beneficial thing. What you want is to be able to inflame an isolated area, heal it, and then anti-inflame properly. So fever is known as a type of inflammation. So if we heat the body up to a certain point, the body kind of knows that that's going to kill certain things, or at least those things that are causing us problems at the time. And then we have what we call our acquired immunity, which really is our memory-based system. It takes a little bit longer to cultivate, but this is the immune system that actually builds a memory up against different invaders and pathogens so that the next time we see them, we have this ability to automatically know what to do with them and how to neutralize them. So this is how we build up our immunity to things like the flu virus. All right, once we get exposed to a specific strain, we build up an immunity so that the next time we encounter that strain or something similar, we already have something designed to neutralize that pathogen. So let me just take a moment here and see, hey, what's going on, Julie Beth? All right, cool. So that's an overview of the immune system, and I think the reason that I wanted to cover that is because, number one, the body is so unbelievably awesome and complex, and all this stuff is happening all the time. The question is, how strong is it? Like, how strong have you made it over time? So let's talk about what exactly are colds and flus, and getting sick can actually be a good thing, okay? So colds and flus are our body's response to a virus. And now that may manifest into something a little bit worse, like an upper respiratory infection or a sinus infection or something like that. But it's a response to a virus, okay? So cold is just a less severe version of the flu, but they're both the same thing to a large degree. And the goal of being healthy and having a good immune system is not to not get sick ever, okay? So in the holistic functional realm, we'd say that it's actually really beneficial to get sick periodically, because it's an indication that your immune system has the capacity to deal with these problematic invaders and pathogens and things like that. So the question is, how many times do you get sick? How long is the sick? So duration, and then how intense is the sickness? Intensity, right? So people that have strong immune systems, and the stronger it gets over time, the less often it happens, the less the duration, and the less the intensity. And that's what we're looking for. What you need to be careful of is if you or someone that you know is constantly sick, but never getting really, really sick, but always has this low level of sickness. It's almost like the immune system's trying to deal with something, but it can't because it doesn't have the capacity. So again, I want everyone to understand is the goal here is not to never get sick. As I've committed to this journey and being as healthy as I possibly can and looking for all the different ways that I can facilitate being more and more healthy, my sickness continues to get, I have less of them, and they're less duration and less intensity, but I still get sick usually once a year for a day or half a day or 2 days. In the beginning, you know, most people notice when they start to work with us and they get nutritionally sufficient and they start to address all the things that we recommend addressing for health, then immediately their immune system gets better. They have less allergies, they get sick less often, but they still get sick. But I think the longer you commit to this stuff, the more resilient your body's going to be. So let's talk about some things in the line of prevention. Number one, the first thing that you have to do, the most powerful thing that you can do, is a nutrient-dense, toxin-free diet, which is our 5 food groups. So, not going to go into detail about what that is. So a lot of our people that are on this call right now already know what our definition of real food is. But you have to be committed to that definition of real food, and you have to do it all the time, okay? Or most of the time. Now, within that definition of real food, and by the way, if you don't know what real food is, then that's what we do. You can reach out to us, you can work with us, you can join one of our programs. I'll talk about the SHT a little bit at the end. But real food is magical and powerful, and in and of itself is very healing and strengthening for the immune system. Now, within that realm of real food, you want to make sure, I hope we can see this because it's only black and white, you want to make sure that you have a nutrient-dense, toxin-free diet that includes balance, and the balance means that you have a balance of meats to fats to plant matter, okay? And we want to think broad spectrum, because again, I talked about how complex the immune system is. Think about all the different nutrients that it takes to facilitate all those different activities. And so when it comes to real food, it's fine in the beginning to be committed to staples and doing the same thing over and over and over, but over time, as a veteran, as a real foodie, you want to be committed to venturing out into things that are going to be a little bit more nutrient dense and give you a broad variety of nutrients. So in our realm, we recommend, you know, healthy meats and fats, and definitely venturing into things like organ meats. And then within the plant matter realm, we have what we call our holy grail of plant matter, which includes nutrient dense vegetables that we get through our infamous bar salad, and then also cycling through greens like arugula and kale and spinach and other types of greens. Okay, so but you want to think broad nutrient density spectrum, because you got to feed this thing that's keeping you healthy and defending you. Okay, now when it comes to supplementation, again, we're talking about prevention, and I'm going to bring this all back around to something that makes sense, I hope. All right, when we talk about supplementation, not sure if we can see this very well here. I'm going to talk about each one of these points. Where are we at? All right. So, as a bonus, if you'd like this information, we're going to have all this in a PDF. So let me just touch on these different supplementation things. Number one, we recommend having organ meats on a weekly basis. May sound crazy to some people. If you've been in our realm for any period of time, then it doesn't sound crazy. So we'd recommend the most palatable is going to be liver, and we'd say liver once a week. If we're focused on nutrient density, liver is going to be a powerhouse for nutrients. It is going to be more nutrient dense than any muscle meat that you could possibly consume. So if you're comfortable with liver, I'd say once a week, a quarter pound is going to be great. If you're not comfortable with liver, just experiment with some chicken liver initially. We have a great video on how to prepare chicken liver, and you can ask us any questions that you want. So vitamin A and vitamin D in balanced amounts have been shown to be extremely beneficial for the immune system. And we hear about things like vitamin A and vitamin D, but what we have to understand is that vitamin A and vitamin D have to be taken in balance together because they're synergistic, and if they're not together, it's like they're antagonistic. And so the way that we get vitamin A and D in balanced amounts is the way Mother Nature intended, which is eating real food. And then we also recommend taking fermented cod liver oil. There's several different brands out there. We've kind of gravitated towards a newer company called Rosita. And we get lab reports and testing on the different levels of vitamins and nutrients and things. And cod liver oil is going to be a little bit different from fish oil, because fish oil usually has just kind of high amounts of EPA and DHA, a little bit more highly processed. Fermented cod liver oil is going to be fermented liver oil. It's not really fish oil, it's fish liver oil. So it's got a lot of other stuff in it. Now, also along those lines, we recommend, and again, I have to emphasize, like the vitamin A and D thing, like they have to be in balance. And so taking isolated vitamin D or A is not going to be as beneficial as getting those things from a real food or superfood like fermented cod liver oil. And then EPA and DHA, extremely important and beneficial, have all kinds of different roles inside the body, but specifically when we're talking about the immune system, it's going to be extremely beneficial. And again, guess what? Our fermented cod liver oil that we recommend is going to have vitamin A, vitamin D, EPA, and DHA, all preformed in a way that the body can use, very bioavailable. Okay. D3, vitamin D3 is going to be something that we recommend most people supplement with, especially in this hemisphere, this latitude, longitude, whatever you want to call that, because most of us are not getting regular amounts of sun. By the way, most people think the sun is bad for you for some crazy reason, even though we co-evolved with the sun for 2.5 million years. The sun is great for you. But even if you spend a lot of time outdoors getting sun like I do, I meditate for at least 30 minutes sitting out in the sun, no matter what time of year it is. And yeah, I have a decent tan, but my vitamin D levels would not be where they are if I wasn't supplementing with it. So we'd recommend most people supplement with the vitamin D. We recommend some selenium because most people don't get selenium in their diet, and the best way to get selenium is with Brazil nuts. And so we'd recommend maybe 1 to 3 Brazil nuts most days, some days, on a weekly basis. Having a handful of mixed nuts with some Brazil nuts is going to give you a really decent amount of selenium. We recommend bone stock on a regular basis. Because bone stock is going to give us some of the missing links that we're not getting when we eat just muscle meat. And when we talk about the immune system, there's some beneficial amino acids in bone stock that are specifically very enhancing for the immune system. And again, it's probably things that we're not getting when we just eat like chicken breast and steak and ground beef and stuff like that. Something else that most people are deficient in is going to be iodine, especially those of us that are in this real food realm and we've nixed the iodized salt. Most of us are probably not getting enough iodine because you're mainly going to get that stuff from sea vegetable or seafood. And then there's some other things that contain it, but we'd recommend supplementing with some iodine. And by the way, we have a great strategic supplementation video that takes you through all the different real food recommendations and then what to supplement with if you're not eating those real foods. All right. And then we recommend everyone supplement with magnesium and then vitamin C. Now that sounds like a lot because I'm talking through this, but really what we're talking about is organ meats here and there. And then you want to make sure that you get some fermented cod liver oil. And most people would benefit from taking a D3 supplement. You eat a handful of nuts that have Brazil nuts here and there, maybe once a week, a couple of times a week, bone stock regularly, iodine, magnesium, and vitamin C, and you can take all that stuff with one meal. And that's what I do when I'm at home. I eat my meal in the evening and I have all this stuff and I take it at once, and it's very, very convenient. Okay, so can't emphasize if I'm bringing it up today, it means that most people probably need it. Okay, I know personally I would like to eat more seafood and I just don't, so I supplement with iodine most days. All right, now this is a very important point that I want to make. By the way, I know that was small print, so again, if you want this information at the end, I'm going to tell you how you can get like some PDFs for this information. All right, so this is a very important concept to understand. Let me make sure that we can see that. So the key to having a strong immune system is having a really good terrain that supports a strong immune system. Nutrient sufficiency takes time, and your immune system strengthening takes time. Adaptation takes time. Okay, so I was trying to think of an analogy to explain this. I've been doing CrossFit for maybe about 4 years or something like that, and my body today is completely different from when I started, and completely different from a year into it, and 2 years into it, and 3 years into it. And what we've noticed is that the longer that we commit to this way of working out and varying things, time domains and intensities and movements and conditioning and strength and all this kind of stuff, we continue to build this very, very resilient body. And the longer that I commit to this process, the stronger and more resilient my body, my muscles, my tendons, my joints, and all this stuff get. So, but it takes time. So, a year into CrossFit, I was better at everything. 2 years into it, I was even better at everything. And then 4 years into it, I'm better at everything, and my body is completely different, but it's taken time to get to that point. So my point here is that nutrient sufficiency, eating the way that we recommend, supplementing the way that we recommend, is going to build your immune system, but it takes time to do that. So if you're one of these people that's out here eating crap food, and a lot of bread and bagels and pastas and sodas and sugary things and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden you get sick and you want to bounce into the holistic realm and take some vitamin C and some essential oils and cod liver oil, and you think you're going to knock this thing out, that's not the way that the body works. Like I mentioned before, my sickness, the times that I get sick, the duration, the intensity, as I continue to improve my health, happen less often, less duration, less intensity, and we see that with everybody. So my point here is that this stuff that we're talking about, the true prevention, the true silver bullet, is going to be eating real food, supplementing the way that we talked about, sleeping, all these other things that we know are beneficial for health, and being committed to that for a lifetime. And the longer you do that, the less sick you're going to get, and that's just the bottom line. There is no amount of vitamin C that you can pop into from doing the wrong thing for a long period of time that's just going to take you out of being sick. Okay? And that's all said with love, because we've all been there and not known the right things to do. But that's what we're going to find. That's what strengthens the immune system. All right, something else that we want to make sure that we're emphasizing is metabolic flexibility. I thought I came up with this word. I'm starting to hear a lot of people use the term all the time. So we want to nurture what we call self-sufficiency. This is training your body how to use fat for fuel, which means eating the right foods at the right times of day, and making sure that you nurture space everywhere that you can. This includes fasting protocols, and we recommend messing with fasting once you've understood how to implement real food. And so self-sufficiency, in very simple terms, is making the body self-reliant. And there's a lot of things that happen in space. And when I say space, I mean space with no eating. So in that space, it's very healing for all different parts of the body and all different systems, but especially the immune system. And the only way that you can nurture space naturally is by nurturing what we call self-sufficiency. And we have a lot of different tips and hints and things that we communicate to people when we work with them, all this stuff. All right. So again, we're talking about prevention. I think we're still on prevention, right? Yeah. All right. We talked in our gut health talk about strong digestion. All right, which includes strong stomach acid. Okay. And the reason that we want that is digestion, we covered this in our gut health talk, is a north to south operation. All right. So ideally, we're thinking about our food, which gets us excited about food. We're salivating. We're starting to ramp up all these different digestive juices, especially the upper GI acidity, because upper GI acidity is necessary to break down proteins, to assimilate minerals. And guess what? If I have strong upper GI acidity, then what is the purpose of that hydrochloric acid in the upper GI? It is to bathe the stomach, to disinfect the stomach, to activate a protein digesting enzyme called pepsin, which actually helps to break down and kill pathogens, because pathogens are protein-based. They're animals, they're organisms, right? So we have to have strong digestion. This is our first line of defense, is when things come into our system, when we eat them, that's the first way that they can get inside of our system. So we want to make sure that we have a really strong digestion. And then also, we talked about this in our gut health talk, and you can go back and look at this video because I thought it was pretty great. Keys to having a healthy microbiome, we already talked about before. We want to make sure that we have a really well-terrain that supports a healthy microbiome, and even without taking probiotics and prebiotics and all this other stuff, if you're eating real food and you're supporting a system that supports the organisms that we want, they find you, like they get into your system, especially if you spend a little bit of time outside. So, so having a strong digestion and a good microbiome is going to be extremely beneficial for the immune system, very, very modulating in a beneficial way. And then something else to consider would be the lymphatic system, and this is just really making a plug for exercising on a regular basis, because the lymphatic system, it kind of mirrors your circulatory system like your blood system, but it doesn't have a pump like the heart. So it depends on the movement of nearby muscles, and then also if you're exercising and maybe foam rolling and doing some dry brush massaging or something like that. Massages are great. You're moving the lymph, because the lymph is almost like an off-ramp on a highway. If you got the highway, which is the main blood system, the lymph kind of diverts off, and it's where the body does a lot of its cleaning and neutralizes some pathogens, and it puts that clean lymph back into the blood system. And so my point there is you want to make sure that you're moving all the time, because the lymph is doing what it needs to do, but you need to move the lymph and push the lymph into these different lymph site areas, lymph node areas, so that the body can actually neutralize those pathogens. And the way you do it is through natural movement, and then you can also do some foam rolling and stuff like that. All right. So another thing to consider, so important, the missing link, the final frontier for most people, which is sleep and stress. So I have a picture here of a typical ideal cortisol level for someone that is in proper circadian rhythms. All right, so I cannot emphasize enough how important sleep is and the mitigation of stress. And so circadian rhythms and your hormonal levels are going to be dictated by your light and dark cycles and how in sync with that you are. And so if I'm stressed out all the time, and or if I don't sleep very much like I should, my cortisol levels are going to be peaked longer than I want them to, which means that I'm not going to secrete melatonin when I need to, which means I'm not going to rest and cycle through my deeper phases of rest and recuperation. And so sleep is extremely important for the immune system. And then also stress in general, even if I have a good duration of sleep, like a good period of sleep time, and I feel like I'm doing things that facilitate sleep, if I'm stressed out all the time, that's also contributing to high cortisol levels. And so that's also going to mess with my melatonin secretion at night. So I need to be doing the things that facilitate good sleep. And then I also need to do things that facilitate managing my stress. So this is a big plug for getting outside every day, getting to bed on time, and then making sure that you're meditating on a regular basis. And through meditation, a whole new world opens up of stress management, because you start to catch yourself and notice yourself getting triggered and upset and offended. And then instead of going down this repetitive, habitual soap opera in our mind for hours and hours and days and weeks or whatever, like you have this capacity to work with it a little bit. All right, so that's a big plug for meditation. So let's just summarize prevention. How long have we been on here? About 30 minutes? All right, we're not doing too bad. I think I got maybe about 15 minutes more left, all right? And do we have any pressing questions? Dun, 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 dun. All right, cool, yeah. All right, yeah, Melissa, space is my jam too. All right, so a summary, and again, I'm gonna give you instructions on how to get this summary of stuff from us. Number one, you gotta eat real food. You gotta think about balance. You gotta think about nurturing self-reliance, self-sufficiency. You can also think fat burning, all right? We teach all this stuff if you don't know how to do it, because we can't teach it right now. Also, highly, highly, highly recommend the supplementation recommendations. Some of this stuff we do sell in our office because it's just convenient for us to do that. Some of it we just recommend you get on Amazon and stuff, right? So supplementation, I think, is a big reason why a lot of us that are extremely healthy are where we are, because we understand the importance of it, and that's why we put together this video that talks about strategic supplementation. You need to make sure that you have strong digestion, which includes hydrochloric acid and a good microbiome. You need to make sure that you're moving on a regular basis, or at least doing some foam rolling so that you're moving your lymph. And you need to make sure that you sleep, address your sleep and your stress levels, set circadian rhythms, and meditate. And if you don't have all of those things in place, and you get sick and you have a difficult time with colds and flus and stuff like that, you got to address these foundations first, all right? And understand that it all takes time. There is no silver bullet that's going to fix you right now if you haven't been doing this stuff over time. But the sooner you start, the sooner all this stuff starts to fix itself, and then over time, like, you get stronger and better and all that kind of stuff, all right? Now, any questions I need to address here? Yeah. All right, cool. So let's talk about what to do once you get sick. This is going to be a heartbreaker for some people, right? What to do once you get sick. The number one thing, the first thing you got to do, can anybody guess, is you got to chill out. You got to stop everything. You have to stop everything and chill out, which means you don't work out, especially with intensity, you don't stay up late, and you don't go out and get drunk, okay? And I just see this all the time. You start to get a little sick. And some of us that are dedicated to fitness, like we don't want to give up a day. You know, we feel like we're going to fall apart or miss something. I feel the same way, like I'm addicted to it, okay? If you feel the hint of a sickness coming on, you have to take time to just chill out and let the body rest. Because if I have a little bit of the sickness brewing and my body has the capacity to deal with it, and then I go in here and I do some 30-minute insane Metcon that completely obliterates me, it's going to be a shock to my immune system. All right, and it's just not going to be enough for me to handle. So the first thing that you have to do is rest. I just took a week off from working out a couple of weeks ago. I felt like I was going to lose everything. I came back better. Like I couldn't believe it. I'm like now addicted to taking weeks off here and there. But my point here is when you get sick, the first thing that you have to do is you have to rest. And you can't stay up late and you can't go out drinking because you're pushing the envelope, and it's just, you're not going to get better, and you're probably going to nudge yourself into getting severely sick. All right. And then we need to make sure that we're continuing with everything that we talked about before, so the supplementation recommendations, and then also understanding that you need to nurture space while nurturing nutrient density. Now, the reason that I say space, and again, for those of you who don't understand space, I'm saying space without eating. The reason that we want space without eating is because that's when the body is healing itself. When I'm digesting food, the body is still working to digest food, okay? So I have to eat, and when I eat, I want to eat nutrient dense, but I also have to have space in between my meals so that my body can heal. So one of the things we have to understand is once we get sick, we need space to heal. And when we eat, we want to eat easy to digest, nutrient dense foods. All right, so here are some close to silver bullets. Now, when you get sick, when you start to get sick, when you feel that little itch in the back of your throat, the cold and the flu viruses, they replicate in the back of the throat and the nasal cavity. That's why every time we start to get we all know what that feels like. You have that little hint of an itchiness or scratchiness or something in the back of your throat, and it's like almost like you're like, oh my God, here it comes. Like, please tell me that's not what it is. That's how I am, right? But as soon as you feel that, you need to start taking zinc lozenges, all right? So we got this concept from a guy that I've followed for years named Chris Masterdon. He's freaking amazing. All right, so again, more detailed information we can send to you after this talk, but the reason we want to take zinc lozenges is because, not because of the zinc, although zinc is very beneficial for the immune system, it's because zinc lozenges, especially this specific kind through life extension, all right, they have to be these enhanced zinc lozenges that are zinc acetate. This zinc acetate defeats the replication of the flu virus in the back of your throat. And so if you catch it early enough and you suck on these zinc lozenges, then you're going to stop the replication, and your immune system, if it's strong enough, will have the ability to overpower the replication of the viruses. All right, so the way you take these zinc lozenges is they take about 20 to 30 minutes to dissolve in your mouth, so you're going to suck on it for 20 to 30 minutes, and then you're going to 2 hours later take another one, and you're going to do that every 2 hours, and that's enough time to sufficiently keep the replication of those viruses in the back of your throat, okay? So, but you have to catch it early enough. I've actually done this twice this year, and I caught it earlier enough. And so what we know is that if you take it at the first signs of a symptom, because the incubation for the flu and cold virus is about a day, which means you're not going to experience symptoms, but it's inside your body replicating. And by the way, that's the time that you're very contagious. 2 to 3 days into it is when your symptoms have peaked. You've also lost your contamination issue, but you're also too late to do anything about it. So if you wait until you're full-blown sick, like you've caught it too late, and there's no point in taking those different zinc lozenges. No, zinc lozenges will not work for allergies, Adriana. That was a really good question. All right, so 2 to 3 days is, if you're into it 2 to 3 days, it isn't going to do anything for you. But in the literature, what we find is if you take these zinc lozenges at the onset of a cold or flu, then you reduce the duration of the cold or flu by 5 to 7 days, which in most cases means you're not going to have the cold or flu. So I've had that little itch in the back of my throat, felt like I was coming down with something, immediately stopped working out, started taking the zinc lozenges. Next day, felt like a brand new person. And we have a lot of people that have tried this and it's worked. We have some people that have tried it and I feel like they just caught it a little bit too late. Okay, so that first inch, when you're in denial about being sick, that's when you want to start taking it. Okay, and then we'll have instructions on how to take this in the future. Something else, again, we're talking about once you get sick would be ginger honey tea. All right. Ginger is antimicrobial. So the same concept that we're talking about here, about like if I'm sucking on these zinc lozenges and defeating the replication of the virus in the back of my throat, ginger is also going to do the same thing. So I want to sip on some ginger tea a couple times throughout the day, maybe. Ideally, the ginger tea is going to have a squeeze of lemon, which is very soothing for the throat, and then also a little bit of honey. Honey is a sugary superfood. It's got some immune boosting benefits, but then also it's going to be very soothing for the throat also. And then as a bonus, you can throw in a little bit of cayenne pepper, which is going to be like a vasodilator, improve your blood flow, and kind of wakes you up a little bit. All right. So, so zinc with the ginger tea is going to stop that replication in the back of your throat. All right. Then we mentioned before, vitamin C, I think, is crucial. We think that the human body can assimilate about 2 grams in a day. And so we recommend as a maintenance, as you're building this healthy terrain, this self-sufficiency, this body that's nutrient sufficient, I recommend most people take 2 grams of vitamin C per day. And to put that in context, a lemon has about 50 milligrams of vitamin C in it. 1 gram of vitamin C, think about how much more that is. And we have a great vitamin C product that we get through the Vitamin C Foundation, cheaper than you'll get it from them, and 1/4 teaspoon gives you a full gram. And so I take a 1/2 teaspoon every day, which is 2/4 teaspoons, and that helps with your nutrient sufficiency over time. Once you get sick, it is a little bit immune boosting to take a mega dose. You could do like 5 grams a couple times a day or 3 times a day or something like that. Just pay attention to bowel tolerance, because some people, have some bowel issues when they start to increase their vitamin C. All right. So, so again, vitamin C we'd recommend over the long term, and then once you get into the sickness, you can take a big boost of it. This is another great little silver bullet. All right. So I'm sure most of us have probably in this holistic realm heard of glutathione. So glutathione is one of the master antioxidants inside the body, plays a lot of different beneficial roles. When you get sick, your immune cells, a lot of those things that we talked about earlier, are going to use a lot of it to function properly. All right, so it might make sense to supplement with some glutathione, especially if you're having upper respiratory issues, because glutathione can help with hemodilation. I think that's what you call it. It's a bronchodilator, so it helps open up your air passageways. And what we see is that glutathione deficiency, we see this rampant in people that have COPD and asthma. All right, so glutathione, this is something that you don't want to take on a regular basis, because you should be getting it from foods and you should be getting the precursors for it through foods. But you can, when you get sick, especially if you have like nasal and upper respiratory issues, take 1 glutathione a day. And we recommend this one from Jarrows. We don't sell it. You can get it at Whole Foods, Natural Grocers, probably Sprouts. You can get it on Amazon for sure. Something good to have on hand. And that is almost like a silver bullet for upper respiratory infections or upper respiratory issues. All right. And look, we're big into essential oils, and I'm telling you, they work. All right, so the big essential oils you'd want to use in a cold flu situation is going to be the flu bomb, which is frankincense, on guard, lemon, and oregano. You put those together in a capsule and you take it a couple times a day, and I'm telling you, it obliterates the flu. And then the blend that doTERRA has called Breathe is great for respiratory issues. You can put it on your chest, you can diffuse it, and opens up your air passageways. It's really, really great. Okay, so that's more for symptomatic relief. And then again, as you're in the middle of the sickness, we talked about making sure that you have space, and then also focus on nutrient density. So what we recommend is, I guess, eat to whatever your hunger kind of dictates. But when I get sick, I like to just do space. It's almost like fasting, and then I do a little bit of stock, a little bit of fat, and a little bit of egg yolks. And the reason that we choose those is because they are extremely easy to digest. So I'm not sure if you can see those up there, right? So we got some bone stock. I would recommend drinking a couple of cups of bone stock a day, ideally home prepared, but we also have a great video on bone stock options that you can buy at the store. And then we recommend an egg yolk or 2 or 3 a day without the white. And then we recommend butter as your fat source for fuel. And then space, So what I might do when I get sick is I'll have a cup of what I call yolk stock in the morning. I'll do a cup of stock mixed with a dissolved raw egg yolk and a little bit of butter, and that'll be like my morning meal or something like that. And then I'll have a lot of space, and then I'll have the same thing in the evening, and then all the while, like, I'm using some of these things for my symptoms, okay? So as a summary for the things to do once you get sick, here's our little summary. If you can't read it, I'm gonna go through it. So number 1, as soon as you notice yourself starting to get sick, you have to stop everything and chill the heck out, all right? immediately start to take the zinc lozenges. We sell these in our office, and you can also get them other places, but I think we have a pretty good price on them here. Start to consume ginger honey tea a couple times a day. It tastes really good, but it's also good for the back of the throat. And then you can up your vitamin C intake. If you have upper respiratory issues, you can take some glutathione, take one of those capsules per day. Use essential oils for symptom relief. And then you want to make sure that you're not eating all the time, that you nurture space. And I would recommend on those days that you're trying to nurture space, give your body a little beneficial nutrients. So start with bone stock, butter, and egg yolks. Okay? And I think that's a really good summary of everything that we have there. All right, so what we can do is we're going to have this information put into a PDF. And again, some of the things we recommend getting through our office, some of the things we'll recommend getting through Amazon. Anytime that you purchase anything through us, just understand that you're not just empowering yourself, you're helping to empower other people, because this is a business that's all about helping others. Like we really are. We're here. If we were billionaires, we'd be doing the same thing, because we just love to help people along their path. I got to make a big plug for our upcoming SHT, which is coming up at the first of the year. All right, we call this a holistic health journey. It's a way of life. It is a game changer. It's foundational. All right, so here, if you don't understand all the things we talked about with food and supplements and space and self-sufficiency and all that, in this program, we learn it all. Like we learn real food, we learn all kinds of different things about real food, how to do low carb, how to nurture, put yourself through cleanse and testing and self-testing protocols and fasting protocols and all kinds of cool stuff. But we also get into sleep and setting circadian rhythms and meditation, mindfulness, and being outdoors, all the things that we'd consider necessary for health. And then we have a membership that would facilitate you learning all that stuff throughout a year, because we all have all kinds of great programming throughout the year, right? So if you don't have this stuff figured out, or even if you do, like we mentioned before, like the key to having a healthy immune system is not just doing the thing that you think is going to be good for your immune system today because I feel like I got sick. It's too late at that point. You want to make sure that you are nutrient sufficient over a long period of time. The way you do that is you be involved in something that keeps pushing you. If I just did the basics of the 10-week program, the 10-week SHT, that would serve me for a lifetime, but in my opinion, it's not enough. You got to keep learning and pushing yourself and evolving. And for most of us, we benefit from the accountability and the community and being a part of something over the long term, okay? So superhumantransformation.com, we have one kicking off January 13th in 3 weeks. We're still in early bird pricing right now, which means you can type in the code EARLYBIRDSHT, which stands for Early Bird SHT, and then and our early bird pricing stops on December 31st. So if you would like a PDF of a summary of this information that we covered today, message me. You don't have to comment. I would like you to message me and say bonus material or cold flu material or something like that. And that way I will know to send that information to you. We may ask you for an email or something like that. Now, if you comment in the comments about what was in the flu bomb and you get it right, you're going to be put into the drawing for a free bottle of one of those oils. And we won't do the cheapest one. We'll do like Melaleuca or something. All right, so or maybe a couple of them. We'll probably do a couple of them. All right, so if you can comment in the comments the components of the flu bomb, which is a little bit into the presentation, then you'll be put in the drawing for a couple of different essential oil bottles. All right, just a little bonus. And I'm going to stick on here for just a second and see if there are any questions about the zinc lozenges and pregnancy. I think I'm going to double check on that with the zinc acetate, but zinc is one of the things that we recommend for fertility anyway. That's a great question, Lexi. When I get the answer to it, when we get the answer to it, we will post that in the comments, okay? Let me see if there's anything else that we have in here. Questions? I already asked, do you recommend any particular brand of zinc? Yes, Elsa, we recommend only zinc acetate, which we get through that life extensions, and it's the enhanced zinc lozenges, and we keep that in our office here, and it's going to be cheaper than you can get it on Amazon and stuff. So we keep it in the office because, you know, we want to be here for people when they get sick. Let's see. No working out, Sonia Jackson. So when you come in here and you're a little bit sick, you're probably keeping yourself from healing. If you're going to work out, you know, say you've been sick for a couple of weeks and you're just getting the itch, I would say just don't push the intensity, okay? And I think we have answered most of the questions. On guard, bottom of the feet has been great this week. Yes. All right. Love you too. Awesome. Love all you guys. You got any questions, comments, snide remarks, send them our way. We like it all. All right.